Hey, this is Linda with the Life Station Express, the relay station. We bring the news to you, and I just set my phone up temporarily on one of the electrical boxes here at the campground. There usually are campers and tents all throughout this grassy area over here, but it's Thursday, so the weekenders from last weekend are gone, and the weekenders from this weekend are not here yet. So it's open, it's empty. It's hot today, but it's not a hot that I mind. It's breezy. I guess maybe that's why. We had a rainstorm come through yesterday, last night, and the electricity went off for a while. So I was cooking on the gas stove, thank goodness for gas, and made some chicken legs and peas, just something simple. And then the electricity came back on. I think it was a little after midnight. The lights came on. While I'm sleeping, the lights come on. So anyway, down here at this spot where the creek runs down across here, and it's very quiet. It's very peaceful right now. So I thought I'd just come down here and talk a little bit about something that I had and don't mind the hair thing. Just I've got laundry up in the bathhouse in the washing machine, the dryer, and I've been riding around on the golf cart here. Whoops. Anyway, there it is. Anyway, I'll stand. I guess you can see me. Hair locust. Anyway, I've been looking at some videos that a lady named Madeline has done. She's been on YouTube for a little while now and has some really good stuff, truther things, and talking about history, what we've been taught, where things, especially on the old maps and some other things, just are probably not correct. It's been really good. She said two words today that made me stop and listen, and that's the second thing that has happened while I've been listening to her videos. She kind of goes deep and it makes you think, and you've got to listen to them when you're in a place where you can just stop and listen, and hear what she's saying. Anyway, she used the term spell casting, and it's extremely interesting because she's talked about back in the times when Charles Dickens was writing his stories, and how a lot of that time period, what we think about it, was formed by watching or reading, first reading and then watching movies of his stories, like David Copperfield, I believe, and of course The Christmas Carol. And just pointing out some things that, and I know some of you won't go here, and that's okay, but what I've been looking at is extremely interesting. Should the case be that we are in Satan's season, which is Revelation 20, around verse 7. If you look at that and you do some study about where we are in the history of this place, Madeline's got some really good information. Jason Jack has some really good information. He put out a video yesterday or today that was extremely well done about the statue, with the different parts, the different civilizations. And when you get to the miry clay of the feet of the statue, he explains all that in the time period. It was really, really good. But anyway, back to the spell casting. Charles Dickens was extremely good at what he did, being an author, and we've all learned that in school. I hope the sun's okay. I can't really tell. Anyway, he was a very good storyteller. But when you get deeper, if you understand that if we are in the little season, then Jesus has already come back, the tribulation has already happened, the 1,000-year reign or the millennial kingdom has already happened, and at the end of that seems to be around 250 years ago, something like that. And a lot of things came about. This country is one of them. Some of the influences in the early 1800s that we've been taught, especially been taught in school. Now I was taught in school, 50 years ago, some of these things, and people older than me as well. And we just take them as rote, but we don't understand. And I got a little clarity when she used the word spell casting, because that's what happens when you watch TV. That's what happens when you watch a movie, and it's what happens when you read a book. And some of the books that were written back then, especially like the Dickens stories and those kind of things, can really take us to a place where we just believe it. We believe everything. We believe everybody was poor. We believe the aristocracy was just, there. And I'm not saying it wasn't, but there was such, when you think of a Charles Dickens story, you think of England, you think of poor children, the whole orphan thing. There were orphans, there were orphan trains, there were the Cabbage Patch children. There's so much to look at. Anyway, that was the one thing I wanted to just bring out. Spell casting is what people do with words. Now they're going to start mowing. Okay, I'll make it short. The other day as well, I was listening to one of her videos again, and it's like the Lord just dropped into me. We've been tricked and we've been duped. And whenever we think about something and we are ready to say, yes, this is the way it is, we need to stop and think, why am I saying that's the way it is? Why do I believe that's the way it is? Why do I believe this account of history? Why do I believe the Old West was, crazy, and they had wood buildings that would fall down as you leaned against them, but yet when they get to California, there are these huge opulent buildings and cathedrals in California at the same time, all the Capitol buildings. There's just so much to look at that we think we know the truth about. And the other day I was listening, and it was just dropped in my spirit. You have to think of things. It was like, to me, Linda, you have to think of things in the opposite way. And she showed a scene from a movie, and I was telling my sister about it, where if your attention is being captured over here, like they'll do in politics a lot, your attention's being captured over here, like recently, like the man that didn't kill himself, all that stuff. If your focus is over here on that, and you have no idea what's going on this side, because you're not looking over there, but they will draw you with something on this side, to the right or the left, so you don't notice what's going over here. And God was just really showing me that everything, pretty much, that I would believe, I learned it because I learned it somewhere. And I could even include church for some of that, because when I'm studying the little season, that's not something I can talk about with other people. I can't talk about the shape of the earth with other people because they don't want to hear it, because it just stands against everything that we've been taught by rote, or by college professors, or by people we would deem have the answers. Yeah, they have the answers. They've studied. Well, what did they study? They studied what someone else told them. And if they go back as far as they go back, just say, what did it look like during David Copperfield's story time, or the Christmas Carol story time? We believe what it looked like in England or wherever because we saw the movie or we read the book. So I just had that dropped into my spirit that we do really need to question everything. Again, this lady Madeline, her channel is called Leaving Babylon. She's just a quiet, soft-spoken woman. She's done a lot of research. She's put a lot of time into some of these things. She's looked at some maps that have some amazing things on them. And I just question so much now. And that's not a wrong thing to do. It's okay to question. It's okay to say, hey, wait a minute, why do I believe what I believe? Why am I, so staunch in defending this or defending that? And you can go even further. She's got some videos right now about liberty and how the United States was connected. I don't have it all, but the United States and the formation of this country, the French Revolution, who really was Napoleon, what were they really tied into, who was really backing all these things. It's just amazing. And I'll just leave you with this. When she was showing a clip from the Christmas Carol, which we've all seen it how many times. Every Christmas we watch a Christmas Carol. But the one with, I think it's George C. Scott's version, I think, where the Christmas yet to come, or present. Anyway, it's the one with the big guy with the green robe on, and he's sitting on a chair. Well, he's sitting on a chair with his robe kind of open. You can see his chest, and he's got one hand down with his two fingers like this down, and the other hand has a torch up, holding a torch. And it's the exact same posture as the Statue of Liberty, which is also the exact same posture as the statue of Baphomet. If you don't know who Baphomet is or was, you can look that up. There's just so much that's convoluted. They're making, and when I say they, I mean the powers that be. I mean the ones, of course God's in control. We're not saying that, but he is leaving us space to learn what really is going on. And I think when we learn what really is going on, try to get out this sun a little bit. Well, maybe not. When we learn actually what is going on in this world, what's gone on before, we were here, what went on before in our generations. How far does my generation go back? Does it go back to the 1800s? Can it go back further? Oh, and is the 1800s really the 1800s, the 1700s? What's that I or that J in front of the date on the building? It's an I or a J, it's not a 1. So did we lose 1,000 years in the timeline? What were we taught? I watched another video that was really good. It was a scientist, mathematician guy that did research. He said all those ages that we put down as this age, that age, that age, they weren't one right after the other. They were all happened at the same time. So he accounts that in our timeline, which most of us know it's not correct to begin with, right? Right? You know that, right? That there's at least a 700-year difference. Some people go as far as to say 1,000. They added the I or the J. They made us in the thousands. Now we're in the 2000s. It really hasn't been that long since the millennial reign. It really hasn't been that long since Jesus was walking on this earth. And Jesus said, during the time he was here, he said, your generation, this generation will see me coming in the clouds. And apparently that happened. We just haven't been taught that. I could go on and on with some of these things, these teachings that I'm getting in front of this. I don't like to get people's campers. Anyway, some of the teachings that we've been given and handed down, and we would say, oh my gosh, yes, so-and-so taught that. He is a master of whatever studies. He's got his PhD. He's got his doctorate. Well, what are they telling you? They are telling you what somebody told them. And it's not until we look at some things like the mud flood, like the buildings that are melted, and put that up against scripture. And even one of the people that I watch a lot recently, and I totally respect them, recently has made a video studying and looking into the little season, and he's not all about it, but he's open and he's looking at some of the things. Now, he left a lot out. He did a short video about what he's discovered. He's not convinced, and that's fine. It took me a while to figure out. It took me 3 years to figure out that we are not on a spinning globe. It took me 3 years to figure that one out. Once you get these things down in your knower, it brings so much peace, and it brings so much clarity, and it brings so much security. I'll use that word as well. But anyway, I think I've talked enough. I just wanted to have you hear the words that I heard today that Madeline used, which was what did I just say? I can't think of it now. Spell casting. Casting. They do it. Television. They cast things. It's witchcraft. It's all a part of witchcraft, and we aren't taught that, and we don't know that. And even Christians have their favorite, actors and people that speak into their lives, pastors and teachers. And yes, listen to your pastor, listen to the teachers. I'm not saying don't do that. I have my favorites too. But we need to take everything, like the word says, take every thought captive and we need to go over everything and make sure it lines up with the Word of God. If it doesn't, you throw it out. If you can't find where it fits, you throw it out and you go on from there. But anyway, this is Linda with the Life Station Express, the relay station, on a breezy day when I'm doing laundry, and I just thought, well, I'll come down here while there's quiet. And I hope you can't hear the lawnmower. He's down in front mowing the grass. Anyway, the creek is beautiful. I don't know if I can get a picture of it. It's a little muddy looking because, yep, there goes the truck, because we had rain last night. But it's beautiful here. You know I love it. Stop it, truck. There he goes up the hill. Anyway, it's beautiful here, and boy, oh boy. Anyway, I hope you all are having a great afternoon, and I just wish you the best. I pray for everybody that's listening to this, that they would just ask God to open their eyes, open their ears, let us understand the Word the way it's written for us to understand. I heard someone the other day say, get a Bible that's that was written pre-millennial reign. That would be King James or the Geneva Bible. We have copies of both of those Bibles that we use. Anyway, I think I've gone on long enough. Just so you know, that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. And it's been extremely interesting. I cannot tell you how much has opened up for me just knowing that I'm not the only one that likes to go look at fringe subjects. You start out with the Nephilim and you go from there, under the ground, what's under the ground, how did they get here after the Noah's flood. You can just go everywhere with them. There's so much to look at and there's so much to learn. But that's all I'm going to say today. Hope you have an awesome day. And this is Linda with the Life Station Express, the relay station. We bring the news to you. Please just ponder, just think about, okay, what we've kind of shared with you, what I've kind of shared with you, and where I've been. And a couple people that I mentioned was Madeline from Leaving Babylon YouTube channel, Jason Jack. There's also one called JT Follows JC. And there are a myriad of other ones that follow some of this thought. So hope you have an awesome day.